Hello, 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 everybody. It's your boy Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming here today. Freaking day. With my impressions of the gameplay for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Yesterday or the day before, I made a video about my overall first impressions with the game. Today, we're honing in specifically on the gameplay, because I have a lot to talk about. So going into Xenoblade Chronicles 3, with the trailers that were released, and especially that Nintendo Direct where they went into pretty much a deep dive of the gameplay specifically, I was under the impression that this might be my favorite gameplay loop of any Xenoblade game up to this point. The customization looked on point, the gameplay looked faster, and I really loved one change they made, and that was being able to swap characters in the middle of combat. Now, I may be in quite possibly the worst location to show off the gameplay, because there is nothing above me. If I jump down this cliff, I'm going to die horribly. So what we're going to do is travel to this area right over here. For those who may be curious, I'm about 17 hours into the game. Let's double check that. Actually, I'm pretty sure it says. Right here, I'm about, I guess, 18 hours in. And my character is about level 23. And I'm going to go into the combat. We're going to do a little fight. Just a little one, not against anything major or anything. We're going to do a little fight. I'm going to break down some of my early impressions, the very bare thoughts of it. And then I'm going to talk about the customization. And then we're going to do another fight where I show off that customization in full. So, right over here, we have this common enemy, level 24, called a Grossa Aspada. Let's fight this jabroni. Now, the first thing you'll immediately notice is that I have quite a few arts. Very similar to how Xenoblade 2 did it. In terms of you have your X, Y, B buttons, being able to do certain arts. So, overall, less number than, say, in 1 or X, but it's the way they use these arts. Because, actually, you have more arts than you had in any other games at any one time in combat. And the reason for that is very simple for what I talked about earlier. First of all, let's do that. You can swap characters here. There's so much depth and complexity to just that system that allows you to play as multiple different characters. We're going to talk about the freaking mech system as well, by the way, called Ouroboros. This is badass, I might add. But I can, cancel it, can go to a different character. I am from the back, as you can see in the indicator right above my arts in the bottom right there. Gonna inflict a bleed there. Gonna go over here. Gonna get a taunt up here with my special on my Mio. We're gonna do one of those. I'm gonna do what's called a fusion art, where I can use two arts at the same time. I'm gonna use my topple for literally no reason. And then I'm gonna go over to Ione. Gonna do my intellect, become the healer mech. What I'm going to do is then do a heal attack, which attacks and then heals based on the amount of hit. Senna died beforehand, so that's, sad. And that's a very basic fight. A lot was thrown at you right there, wasn't it? The game drip feeds you this over the course of the 18 hours I've played. You start off with Actually, you start off with auto attack, basically, and one art, and then you gain the other two relatively quickly, but you can't switch characters yet. And at some point in the main story, you're allowed to swap characters. And it's really then that the game takes a whole new form into the combat. Because you have, at the start, 2 healers, 2 tanks, 2 DPS. For those who don't know, DPS is damage per second, so your damage-focused characters, called attackers here. We have 6 main party members here. You can see I have Noah, Mio, Ione, Taion, Lance, and Senna. These characters have certain classes. So Noah starts off with the Sword Fighter. Mio starts off with the Zephyr. Ione starts off with Medic Gunner. Taion starts off with Tactician. Lance starts off with Heavy Guard, which is the massive sword. And Senna starts off with Ogre, which is the massive hammer, which is freaking cool. Tactician is the bunch of Mondo, which are these little... I don't know the exact terminology for it. Spell tags, yeah, that's the little, almost paper crane... Not paper cranes. like the little origami-esque charms. He has like a million of them, and he like swirls them around to do certain abilities. It's pretty cool. Medic Gun, do I even need to say? She heals with the staff, but the staff doubles as a freaking rifle. It's cool as hell. Zephyr is basically, if you ever played Nia from Xenoblade 2, the dual ring, it's basically that. And what I like to call the Monado, because I'm convinced the sword's the freaking Monado, is the Sword Fighter. But that's not all you have. Over the course of the game, you're going to meet certain characters called heroes. I've met one so far. And those heroes get you new classes, like this one I have, which is the Flash Fencer, which is a dual sword class. And one of the cool things about the customization of this game, and in terms of the gameplay, is you can swap all these characters' classes. So if I wanted to, I could have him be a tactician. I could have my Noah be a tactician. I could have him be a medic gunner. I could have him be a Zephyr. I could have him be a sword fighter. I could have him be an ogre. Or I can have him be a flash fencer. And each class gets different odds. So with flash fencer, which is what I am right now, I get to select 3 of 5 odds. I have Hidden Thorn, I have Revolution Edge, and I have Cross Impact. Hidden Thorn does a bleed and does a good chunk of damage. Revolution Edge increases damage from when you attack from behind and does damage. Cross Impact is a buff. It gives you Power Charge, which means your next attack going to do even more damage. Also does a little bit of damage in of itself. Maybe wondering what this is. This is essentially your ultimate. Now, each class gets one. So for whatever the hell this one's called, the Fencer one, you get Saber Strike, which has Smash, which is part of the combo system. If you recall from Xenoblade 2, it's basically the driver combo system, but there's 2 of them now. You have Break, Topple, Launch, Smash, which if you played 2, you're very familiar with, but you also have another one, which is Break, Topple, Daze, and I think there's another one, but I just don't have access to the final ability in that one. And that's more along the lines of the Xenoblade 1 combo. Don't worry about Infinity Blade, that's kind of story stuff. Like, don't worry about it. But over here, you may be wondering, what is this? Why do these arts say ogre? You're not an ogre. These are what we call master arts. Master arts are really freaking cool. What they essentially allow you to do is, if you've leveled up a other class for that character, you get to use some of the abilities for them. These are called Master Arts. These are not restricted by your class. You can use them on other classes, so long as you leveled up that class appropriately. So for Noah, I have 2 Ogre ones. I have a Tactician one. I don't think you have to level them up just for the character, because my Noah was never Tactician, but I already have Dark Banner. It might just be class overall. I'm not entirely sure about that. I need to do a little bit of testing of that. And I also have Zephyr, which Noah was at the very beginning of my game. I am as a Zephyr. So I have 2 Zephyr Master Arts. So I have Wide Slash, and I have Glow Ring. Notice also that depending upon the class, basically the class, the recharge is different. So for these ones, in my Master Arts one, they're all auto-attack recharge. Essentially, they'll come off a cooldown the more you auto-attack. But my Fencer ones are time recharge, so the auto-attacks are relevant. They recharge based on a time duration. So for this one, it's 34 seconds. This one's 28 seconds, and this one is 18 seconds. This matters, and you can mix and match them, because there are various things that might buff your auto-attack speed. So if you're using a character with a class that is really much reliant on auto-attack recharge, like these ones I have over here with my Master Arts, hey, maybe sticking them on a character that can auto-attack pretty quickly might be a pretty good idea. So that's just one character. Bear in mind, you have this level of customization with the other 5 as well. Yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. So for Senna, for instance, see, those are the Mondo I'm talking about right away. The ones that are floating around Senna on the left, that's what I'm talking about. She has some heavy guard abilities, self, damage reduction, and basically damage dealt debuff, which is a stance. She has a frontward AoE for generating aggro, which basically allows enemies to attack your tank, something you want on your tanks. And she has a medic gunner ability, which has daze to it, and she also has a sword fighter ability. So you can mix and match and make these characters truly your own. That's really cool. And this is only going to get expanded on later on, because I still need to unlock a third Master Art at level 40. But that's not all you have. There's more customization on top of this. More ways to make these characters feel your own. Let's talk skills, which are essentially your passives. These are essentially passive abilities you always have access to. So for my... I will never remember the name of this freaking class. Flash Fencer. You have these four skills. Passives, essentially. First move wins, which boosts damage dealt by 35% for the first 30 seconds of battle. Boosts damage dealt by 30% when using a talent art, up to a maximum of 200%, that's Fighting Instinct. You also have access to, one of my favorites, Critical Strike. Increases critical hit damage bonus by 35 percentage points. So I'm essentially going to do more damage on crit. And you have Capable Hands. Fills talent art recharge gauge by 70% at the start of battle. Remember how I said there were master arts, that you got certain master arts by leveling the other classes, and you can use those universally? Same thing with the master skills. There are certain skills you get by leveling up the other classes that you can use on the other classes, which is really nice. So, I have two right here. From the Ogre one, I have Fighting Prowess, which boosts damage dealt by physical arts by 40%, and I believe all my arts are physical on this. Physical, and that's a stance. So basically all my arts do 40% more damage on top of my autos. That seemed really useful to me. But I also have room for a second one. I could have chose Split Second Counter from Zephyr, which deals 150% of attack damage when you evade an attack. I am not having Noah be a tank right now, so I don't think that's very much useful for me. What is useful for me is this thing called Cipher Edge, which boosts critical rate by 20%. You pair that up with this, which makes my crits do even more damage. That's a nice little bit of synergy there. And again, you can do this on all your characters. That's a nice level of customizability, but we aren't done yet. You have gems. If you're familiar with Xenoblade 1, it's basically that system without all the freaking grinding, because when you make one gem of one rank, you can use it on all of your characters permanently. It's freaking lovely. I love this freaking rehaul of this system. It's so much better. So for instance, for the gems on my Noah, which remember I have the passives that really benefit my crit, I have it increases critical hit damage bonus by 25 percentage points. So I do even more crit. And remember, I attack fast. I have double strike too. Adds 17% chance to strike twice per auto attack. Remember those two master arts I had, which recharge on auto attack. Another nice bit of synergy. You have gems that are broken down into like universal. You have healers, you have your attackers, and you have your defenders, which are your tanks. So you have stuff like increases agility, which is good on a tank that wants to evade a lot. Like a Zephyr, you have more block rate. You can do damage to an enemy when you take damage. You can boost aggro generated. You can start each battle with aggro. There's a whole and these other systems here, and you can level these gems up intermittently. They go from rank 1 to 10, and each gives you an incremental power bonus for that gem. So I have a rank 2 Analyze Weakness. So if I go even higher, I'll get even more crit damage. That's nice. And again, this works for every character, and you don't need to make multiple gems. I craft one rank 2 crit. I can use that one crit on everybody else. See? Analyze Weakness 2, Analyze Weakness 2. I only needed to craft that once. This just opens up the customization so very early on, because all you need to do is invest in the one thing you really want on maybe a couple of characters, and all of a sudden you have multiple characters getting one power-up. You don't need to craft multiple of the same thing anymore. That's such a nice step in the right direction. You also have accessories, which are basically just little items you get with like certain benefits. So for my Noah, I have an ice headband, which boosts my crit rate by 20%. Again, I'm going with a crit-based auto-attacking Noah. So, this is the build I have so far. And at higher levels, I'll be able to get more accessories. So I'm not done getting all this stuff yet. And also, let's be honest, the most important thing, the drip. It allows us to change the appearance of the clothes we have. Because each class comes with an appearance. Basically, the clothes your characters wear changes depending upon which class you get. Or you use. So, this is the Sword Fighter one for Noah, this is the Zephyr one, this is the Ogre one, and this is the military uniform, or I can stick with what I have currently, which is the base clothing, for my Flash Fencer, which is what I like, personally, because I think that coat looks pretty freaking cool. I like the shoulder guards, and I like the forearm guards, whatever the hell they're called. I think it looks pretty neat. But that's not it! You saw those giant mechs earlier, which I'll talk about. You have Interlink, which is essentially your giant freaking Ouroboros mech. I don't know if they're technically mechs, I just like to call them that. Basically, you have groups of 2 for each of your party members. And depending upon those groups, you have an attacker mech, you have a healer mech, and you have a defender mech. So Noah and Mio form this jabroni. This Power Ranger looking jabroni. He has certain freaking abilities here. Phantom Slash, Dragon Tail, Unison Strike, and you can see Rolling Smash. That's a shout out to you, those of you who've played Xenoblade 2 before. You also have an ultimate, you have your own skills, and you have a talent tree here, which you can gain SP in combat, and I guess doing stuff, and incrementally get what you want. I'm personally going for Unlocks Art Canceling. That's the one I really want. So that's what I'm aiming for. And again, you have 3 of these mechs. There's a really nice level of customization in this game so far that doesn't feel overwhelming, but it feels in-depth enough that it gauges my interest, and I want to make these characters my own and try out different builds for them. And the way you get these other classes is by playing as them for these characters. So for Noah, I played as Sword Fighter, I played as Zephyr, I leveled up Ogre, and I'm leveling up Flash Fencer right now. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can A, just play the game forehead as the classes, and you'll gain rank XP, which goes for these classes. So, the more I'm in combat, the more my Flash Fence is going to level up, because my Noah's a Flash Fencer. And bear in mind, this is per character. So actually, as you can see here, it changes based on who I select here. Because I've had different characters play different classes. You may be wondering, well, you have a whole lot of classes here, potentially. That seems like a massive grind sink. Kind of is, but there's a workaround here. Notice in the bottom right corner what the Y button does. It says use Nopon coins. In the course of the game, you will acquire these things. You'll acquire silver Nopon coins, and you'll acquire gold Nopon coins. The silver ones, which are more common, allow you to level up these classes per character. So if I spend 4 Nopon coins, which I can get by playing the game, I can power level these things. I can just spend 4 right now and move mine up to 8. So, what does that mean? That's player agency. I can build up these Nopon coins and spend them how I like on the characters that I want to level up a specific job. For instance, when I unlocked Flash Fencer, I was still leveling up Ogre. I was in the very beginning stages of it, but I really wanted to play Flash Fencer, but I wanted some of the Master Arts and skills from Ogre. So I spent a lot of my Nopon coins, which is actually not that much, because you only need like 3 a level up or something. And that's kind of easy to get. Ish. Again, ish. It kind of did deplete a lot of the ones I had, but I was able to level up Ogre to max, to rank 10. At least the max for right now. So I can immediately move over to Flash Fencer. Again, that's a level of player agency I really found fun and really found interesting. Heroes are essentially the blades you had in Xenoblade 2, but not a gacha system. You get them through quests in-game. Thank you. I loved the blade system from 2, but acquiring those freaking things was the worst part of that game. But you don't have to worry about that right anymore, because you just get them through questing. Beautiful.
That should make life a bit easier.
What the hell is this? A whole thing I just realized was here. Okay, yeah, cool. So even more stuff. I think that's like more open world. So the combat feels really good. It feels really clean. It feels like Xenoblade, but with more customization. And it feels kind of more fluid, because there's an act here. I should actually go back here and into the arts. So, there's one last thing of arts we need to talk about, and that's fusion arts. You notice me do this in the combat at the very beginning of the video. So, note the placement of the regular class arts and the master arts over here. So, depending upon how you slot these in, it'll allow you to do certain fusion arts. So, a fusion art is essentially using both abilities at once if they're in the respective slots. So you have a fusion art for your top row, you have the one for the middle row, and you have one for the bottom row. Middle row does not include the ultimate, by the way. It's what would be Revolution Edge, which is what I have here, and Giant Swing. So if I did a fusion art for this, it would give me the effect of Revolution Edge, and it would give me the effect of Giant Swing. So I do a big chunk of damage, and I get both the knockback and more damage from behind by 100% if I'm attacking from behind. Or if I do this, I do my top attack fusion art, I get to use I have the effect of bleed, and my attacks become unblockable, and damage dealt is increased by 20%. That's a nice bit of synergy. So, on top of all the customization I talked about before, you have that on top of where you slot these abilities in respect to one another. Because I found there was a good synergy between my hardest hitting Flash Fencer ability, which is Hidden Thorn, which I can buff with Cross Impact, and Maximum Voltage, so I can do both of them at the same time for even more damage. And maybe I don't want Revolution Edge to be the same fusion combo as Giant Swing. Maybe I want it to be Hidden Thorn. So what I can do is just swap them, and all of a sudden my fusion arts are completely different. It's now Revolution Edge with Maximum Voltage, and Hidden Thorn with Giant Swing. If this seems a little bit confusing, don't worry, I'll show it to you off in combat. And again, you have that for every character. And that's what I really enjoy about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 up to this point in time. It's just how all this customization interacts with one another and synergizes off of each other to make a more cohesive whole that feels more fluid, more fun, and more engaging than I would argue the other combat systems in Xenoblade have up to this point in time. I love the Xenoblade 2 combat, but that took forever to get going, because it drip-fed you a lot of mechanics. It takes a few hours here as well, but I'm at the 18-hour mark, and I'm already feeling I'm at the end of a Xenoblade game in terms of all the stuff I have to customize. So, for instance, again, Flash Fencer. I'm going to use Cross Impact to buff my attacks. I'm behind the enemy, so I'm going to use Revolution Edge. They're doing the driver combos, which I call driver combos. I'm going to use my Smash ability, because why not? I kind of want to find something that will take more damage, so I can use a fusion art. This thing's going to get clapped immediately, so I'm just going to cut to when I find something worth the time. Okay, so I found an elite that I killed before. It's kind of low level, but it should work. Where the hell is this thing? Here it is. Alright, so let's fight this thing. So I'm going to put up Cross Impact. I want to buff. I want to bleed this thing as well, so I'm going to do that. I want to make sure I do Side Break. It missed, so I can't apply Break right now. But I can do a fusion art with on my uni. So you see how both the top arts are lit up? That means both of them are off cooldown, and I can use them in a fusion. So I hold ZR, and this will do my bonus damage on cancel attack, and will reduce their ether defense. I'm going to wait till I cancel it. Boom. There you go. I got another one coming up with Side Break. Let's do this one. Boom. And I think the break missed, or it was not effective. Which sucks, but oh well. If it did work, I would use Topple here. Another fusion art. But it didn't, so screw me, I guess. More damage from the back. I'm going to turn into my freaking mech now, so I can hit left on the D-pad and basically go fusion DBZ action on them. And now I'm a giant freaking mech. So, Interlink level 3, you can see in the left-hand corner, I have certain Interlink levels. I can move over here, have them DBZ fusion to a freaking Neon Genesis Evangelion mech. Well, I guess it's not Neon Genesis Evangelion, because I've never even seen that series, so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about that. But, you can see the level 2 now. They came off a cooldown because you have a heat gauge in the left-hand corner, which is where the character windows are. So, Uni and Noah were near max, so they got off of it. But we can use this, boom, boom, giant punches for the team. Love to see it. And if you just basically let it overheat, the cooldown to use it again is, like, enhanced. It's kind of annoying, but it's something you have to manage. And apparently, later on in the skill tree, it gets easier to manage as you gain less heat. And you just get more ways to manage it. So that's something that's going to become even more manageable later on in the game.
I'm the girl with the gall.
So there's a lot of things to manage here, because you want to manage individual arts. Let me just, like, fight this thing real quick, so I can go to tactics here. Because you're relying on the AI a lot for the other 5 party members, so I can tell them to focus their attacks on whoever I'm attacking. I can tell them to focus on fusion attacks first. I can have them just say, screw it, follow me, and they'll stop what they're doing and try and get to my position and just walk here. Note how they won't attack. So it essentially allows you to 1v1 something. And I can also tell the AI which combo to focus on, so I can tell them to focus on the smash combo or the burst combo, which is why I thought the break, topple, daze was a 4-part combo, because it says burst here. So I'm assuming there's a burst ability at some point. Boom.
I'm the girl with the gall.
The gameplay's really smooth and really fun and really interesting. The AI is a bit stupid, because you'll put down these, like, little area of effects, like these little fields, and they're kind of small, and your AI don't necessarily stand in them. It's a bit of a skill question as well, because you can just, like, go over to that character and manually move them to that spot, and I kind of think that was the intent of the developers, for you to be constantly doing that. Or, like I said, but I feel like not a lot of people are doing, because they're trying to maximize damage, is making sure you have follow leader available. And you just click that on, make everyone come to the circle, and then you just click it off, and they'll just keep doing the damage. And sheath my weapon here. And yeah, that's essentially the combat of the game. And if it's this good already at 18 hours, I'm really looking forward to where the rest of the game goes from here. To say my opinion of the gameplay so far is high is an understatement. This far into the other 2 games, I think 1 was up there as well, because really you didn't have a lot of actual mechanics with 1. It was mostly a matter of getting new party members. 2, you had whole freaking mechanics locked off till like 40 hours later. That really made the game fun to me. Here, you got mechs already, and I'm in like chapter 3 for those who want to know story-wise. Chapter 3 is kind of where the game really like opens up for a lot of these systems. You have fusion arts, you have all this customizability, you have the art system, and I would argue the only thing that's kind of annoying is that one of the benefits of swapping to a different character is that you can use that character's art, so you always have something to do. It's a slight issue when the AI does it before you get there. So you go to a character and you have literally nothing to do but move them. But again, that kind of comes down to managing. Because there's generally something you can almost always do, just you have to find the character for it. If this was a PC game, it would just be a matter of hotkeying the party members to like 1 to 6 or something on my Razor Naga. And I can just swap to them whenever. And I feel like one UI change that would be nice to see is just a little symbol next to all their character portraits that would essentially be the art gauges for all of them, just to see which abilities are up and which aren't. or which are coming off cooldown. I think that would be something nice to see patched in at some point. You don't need it, but again, it's more, you don't need it, but it'd be very nice to have. Because right now, you don't have a wheel. It's just a matter of hold down ZL and then use L and R to cycle through them. So if I'm saying playing as Noah and I want to get the tie on, I have to either go back 3 or go forward 3. So I have to like hit ZL and then R or LLL. It's a complaint I kind of have. It doesn't like ruin the combat or anything. It's just a minor thing for me. But again, if they could find some way to fix it, I think a wheel where if you hold like ZL and ZR at the same time or something, it will just pop up a wheel. I could just move my left stick in the direction of which character I want to control. I think that might be a nice fix. If that's in the options, I haven't seen it, but what's here right now, what I have access to right now at the 18-hour mark, I'm really enjoying it. The mechs are cool to optimize, the characters are fun to build, the classes are fun. It's just a really good time. And at some point, I kind of want to start doing some class stacking, because I think that would be fun. And you could probably get some pretty wacky builds at some point. Following like the min-maxing scene for this game in like a month's time is gonna be hilarious. Or even up to a month's time. And just see what people throw at the wall. Because there's so many classes I don't even have access to that sound so freaking cool. Like right before we leave, let's just talk about this thing. Characters, go to class. Let's just talk about this thing and how the logo, how the name is Machine Assassin. And the logo seems to be a freaking mech warrior. Like a armored core. How this one's called Guardian Commander. Lone Exile. Thaumaturge, which is a healer. Full Metal Jaguar, which is essentially 2 guns. Hell yeah, that sounds so cool. I want to play all these classes. They all seem really interesting. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the gameplay so far for Xenoblade 3. I'm probably going to do a separate video on how the world is in it itself. That'll probably come either the day after tomorrow, or maybe even tomorrow if I feel like it. But let's see. We'll see. So, thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles gameplay, or if you've been playing Xenoblade 3, how you've been feeling about the gameplay. Let me know. I would love to read your thoughts. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe while you're down there. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Don't forget, I stream this game on my YouTube channel. See you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.